Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Huttons Valley Permaculture. With the weather cooling and the front veggie garden slowing down, gives me time to get out to my Swale food forest. Just behind me here is my nectarine tree. As you can see, the support trees are crowding it out. In today's video, we're going to give it some love by opening up the canopy to increase the sunshine and airflow. When I planted my nectarine tree about 5 years ago, I planted various support trees around it. These trees are a source of mulch, but also provide other benefits to the productive tree as well. As the nectarine tree grew, the trees around it provided shelter from the wind. They also provided some sort of frost protection, especially in early spring when that's cold snaps are still an issue. But with these trees getting so large now, I did have quite an issue last spring and into the fruiting season. There just wasn't enough light getting through to these trees, and it also sort of impacted the airflow. With the reduction of the airflow meant that issues like brown rot could take off. Now my nectarine tree wasn't as badly affected as my peach trees, which are nearby, but I'd really like to prevent it being an issue from the get-go. So today the plan is to get some of the canopy down just so this tree gets a lot more sunshine come spring, and also that all-important airflow to keep the fungal diseases at bay. Now I know with my video back in spring, especially with my peaches, there was a lot of concern about all the vegetation all over the ground. And the concern was that this all contributes to part of the fungal issues for the tree. But in fact, what it is doing is helping to build the soil. Now, trees like to grow in a fungal dominated soil. So by providing all of this woody mulch, which is fungal food, it helps to improve the soil. As the soil improves, the resilience of plants like this improves because the soil feeds the trees and helps to protect it. So this is part of building a healthy food forest. If you have a look here, you can see this branch that has been chopped and dropped on a previous occasion is starting to get some fungal decomposition on it, which is what we're looking for. Part of the reason we've got so many trees in this food forest is to provide a ready source of mulch to help improve the soil. When you're planning your food forest, not only do you plan for the mulch that can be used to improve the soil, but some of these trees also have additional properties that you look for. This one here is a tree lucerne or a tagasaste. Now it is a really fast grower, so it provides all that biomass for the soil. But it also is a nitrogen fixer. So when the tree does die, it does leave a lot of nitrogen in the ground. Plus there's lots of nitrogen from these green leaves when we chop them and drop them as well. And also it provides a great food for my bees in winter when nothing else is really flowering. Sometimes you do have to be a bit careful when you chop these trees to get the function you look for. So at the moment I am going to be severely chopping these back, which means early winter it's not going to have those flowers for my bees. But around in the rest of my swale there'll still be plenty of trees for the bees. Okay, so now we need to plan what we're going to do with this space. I think this Robinia, which is the yellowy coloured leaf plant here, I might just trim some that's sort of close to the nectarine tree. I've also got a young Hakea plant, which is just in front of it there, which is really a bit too close, so I might just take that one out. The two tagasastes and the acacia really have to be chopped back severely, and you can do that with the tagasaste and that should grow back. Sometimes it's a bit hit and miss with the acacias whether they grow back or not. So I'll take it to a level where there will still be some leaves left on it to see if we can keep it growing, because if we can keep them growing, at least then we can keep harvesting the mulch ongoing. But the plan is to get it down enough so that the nectarine tree becomes the canopy rather than having these huge big trees up there. There's also this dead tagasaste to take down. Now you do find that they die off occasionally. Fungal disease at the base is often the cause. That will provide lots of woody mulch for the food forest. Another great use for these trees when you're trimming them down is for stakes. You can see how long and fairly straight that is. So if you're in need of stakes around the place, then that would make a perfect stake. So no more talking about it, time to get into action, starting with this Hakea tree. Now Hakea trees aren't very fast growing. They're not really a pioneer species, so it's kind of more a longer term plant. So definitely plant it in the wrong spot. Okay, one down. I'm just going to chop them down first and then deal with the mulching. Certainly looks bigger on the ground than standing up. This is the part I love, when you sort of change the environment around these little plants. Suddenly, you know they're going to come to life. Now to get the dead tree down. Now, if you're wondering what this is, it's Jerusalem artichokes, which I've dotted around the food forest. This also can be used as a stake for things, but probably smaller things like in your veggie garden. What I'll often use the Tagasasti poles for is when I'm doing new plantings, and they're great markers so you don't lose the trees. Now onto the living Tagasasti that I do want to survive. So I'm going to just sort of take it off around here and leave a bit of this leafy growth at the bottom. Hopefully it will kick back into life like that one I showed you earlier and provide us with future mulch. But if we take it off here, that should leave the canopy of the nectarine tree well above it, and it should remain well above it come spring when it starts with its new growth. I'll try not to hit you. The challenge is not to get hit. These are quite sizable branches that have come down, and is part of the reason why I haven't got too many of these smaller shrubs in. This one is a red currant. There's a few just here. But if you had too many of these plants planted too early, then doing this chop and drop would just be problematic. You wouldn't be able to chop without dropping on these younger plants. So in the early days, I am just focusing on getting all this biomass down and onto the ground as we have here to build the soil before adding the smaller little plants in around these trees. It even gets a little bit tricky when you let these trees get too big, because cutting this down will impact on my nectarine tree. It just takes a little bit of planning to get it down in the best way for the tree, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. So with this branch here and its likely impact on my nectarine, I do have to plan my cuts. I'm going to try and cut over on this side. I'll do a cut on this side and then I'll cut from here, and hopefully that branch will mostly fall down into this gap here and miss my nectarine tree, which is right next to it. But anyway, we'll see how we go with that. Well, that was not too bad. So with a little bit of direction, that mostly came down in the gap I needed it to. It just sort of clipped my nectarine tree, but certainly didn't damage it at all. Now, if you can, when you're cutting through, if you can just leave a little flap so it can sort of fall down rather than just kind of drop off, and then you find you can direct them a little bit better to reduce the damage. That one was mostly a perfect fall. It did have these posts to kind of roll down and off, and that did protect it from this peach tree that was next door. And that just leaves this one branch. And that is that. Now what's left of our tree should grow back nicely. I think that's low enough so that our nectarine will be happy come spring. And this should bush up beautifully. And what I do find is it won't flower in winter, but it will flower through spring. So we'll still get those beautiful flowers for the bees. Once you start removing trees, you can actually see a little bit more about what you need to do. I had thought maybe the robinia needed some pruning, but at this stage that's well back from our nectarine tree. So I'll be able to leave that one for today. So just to deal with these two now. So you can see the cuts I did. I did a lower one here, and that one faces where you really want your branch to go. And then the other cut is up higher. Now you can just see here, that little bit acted as the hinge. So it slowly went down. Well, it didn't quite go slowly. If I had that a little bit thicker, it would have slowly gone down. But that was still enough to control it in its fall down, so that it really went where we wanted it to go, and that was well away from our productive tree here. In my experience, acacias don't pollard very well, or coppers, and I have killed them before. So what I will do is leave plenty of lower growth. I might just try and take it out up here And that will kind of leave quite a few branches down below to keep the tree growing. And this branch here I might kind of just take off up there somewhere to kind of reduce the size of that, but yeah, not too much at all. Just to try and get high enough. And that's all I'm going to take off that tree. That leaves that tree well below the canopy of the nectarine, and there's still quite a bit of growth out this side, so hopefully the tree will keep growing. Something other than sunshine and airflow that this tree needs is also a bit of space. You can kind of see where those two trees have been impacting on the growth, which is kind of mostly out this side, but it should be able to fill in this side of the tree as well. So with this tree, I'm just going to take it up high, and that should mean that the tree shoots up there. It still won't impact the nectarine too much in spring, but it ensures we don't kill the tree. I've left these small branches on the Tagasasti, but that should successfully regrow from those points and you know, provide us with mulch ongoing. But as you can see, look at our little tree now. It will soon be losing all its leaves, and then I'll have to do something about pruning it, I think. Hopefully with all that light and space, it'll be very productive come spring. Well, the little nectarine tree has certainly got a lot more sunshine on it now, plenty of air flowing through it, and lots more space in which to expand. Hopefully come spring we'll have lots of blossoms and fruit to follow. That's all I'm going to do today. The rest is just chopping up this mulch and popping it around the base of the tree and the surrounding area to help improve that soil. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and bye for now. Well, I finally got all the branches chopped up and to the ground. Now I will be coming through at a later time when they've dried off a bit and trampling them down, and I'll cut any branches that kind of are sticking up. I prefer them sort of down on the ground where they'll keep moisture in and help that soil. But our nectarine tree, while it's in the shade now, I might have to trim some other trees. It will be a lot happier.